Hi guys, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel Leela WebDev. In this video, we will learn about the final instruction in the Dockerfile, that is user. So we are learning about the final instruction, that is user instruction. So up to now we have learned so many instructions, right? This is our final instruction. So what is the use of this user instruction? For example, let's say that this user instruction in a Dockerfile is used to specify the user under which the subsequent instructions should be run. Whatever the commands are there, run command, add command, copy, entry point, these all the commands are there, right? So under which user you want to run, so you can mention using the user instruction. So this is important for the security, organization and permission management within your containerized application. So the syntax for this one is user, okay, user, and you can mention the user name or user ID followed by the group ID. So you can mention the group ID also. So this is the syntax for this one. So that means you can specify username and an optional group name also. If the group is not specified, the default group for the user is assumed. And you can also specify a numeric user ID and also an optional group ID. This is useful if the container environment does not have a user with a specified name. So if you want to switch back to the root user means, then you can use user root. This might be necessary if some instructions require the root privileges. So now if you need to create a user and a group before using the user instruction means, you typically need to use the run instruction to add the user, then only we can run this one. That means what I am trying to tell you is, for example, you are trying to run the commands using the name Leela, but let's say that Leela user is not available. So then before that you need to use the command something like user add command, and you need to create the add user or user add command will be there, right? And create the user, and you need to use this one. So I will try to show you the example scenario so that you can able to understand clearly. Let's say that what is the container we are having right now. Let's try to see. So now if you try to see, this is the container we are having it, right? And this has been exited. So let's try to remove this one. Docker container rm-f ubuntu-demo. I am removing this one, Docker container, and I am removing this one, ubuntu-demo. Let's try to remove it, and I will create the container. Let's try to create a new container. Okay, so I am creating the container. Okay, Docker container ps. I am trying to check it, and this one is starting. So this one is up 3 seconds ago. Now let's say that under which user this application is running. Let's try to see. So the Nginx application is running, right? So which user has started this Nginx application? Let's try to see. So for that one, what we need to do, we need to log in into this one. So Docker container exec -ti, and the another command which you will be having is the ubuntu-demo, and you will be having the bash. Now if you try to see, /www.html is there, and if you try to run the so if you want to run the check that which under which user this process ID is running means, then you can use the Nginx. Now if you try to see the master process Nginx -g daemon off. So this command is running under the root user. Okay, under this root user it is running. So that means we cannot able to we are running this one as a root user. So in some peculiar situations or in some particular situations, what it will try to do is, so there is an option that we should not run organization requirements or something like that. We should not run the commands or anything under the root user. Why? Because we are giving all the access. So we need to restrict some access so that the security and the container applications will not get destroyed or not destroyed. So will not get any problem. So running the process security, because of the main security, running processes as a non-root user limits the damage an attacker can do if they manage to exploit the application. It reduces the risk of accidental or malicious changes to the operating system. It's a recommended best practice to avoid running containers as the root user unless absolutely necessary. Some environments or organizations have a strict compliance requirements that dictate process must run under non-root users only. But here the process is running under the root user. So because of this situation, so what we are trying to do, so we are trying to so another user is the www-data. It is running on the www-data. Let's try to run this one. So if you try to check here, so this is our code, right? So these are all the commands which we are having, and what you want to do, you want to have a command in such a way that the application should run as a non-root user. So then you need to use user scenario. So now you need to use the user scenario. What you need to do, so we know that www-data is there. So let's try to add this www-data and save it, and let's try to build this image. So that means we are trying to run the container or run the Nginx application using the www user, not the root user. So I am building the image. Let's try to see it. So if you are trying to build the image, let's see that whether the Nginx application will be running under the non-root user or not. So before that, what I will try to, I will remove this, I will clean up this container. Now I will create the container. So now I am creating the same container. Now if you try to check the docker container ps-a, if you try to see here, it has been exited with a status code of 1. So 0 means, normally it has been exited, but here 1 means some problem is there. So if you want to check this one, docker container logs, and that one is nothing but ubuntu-demo. Now you will be able to see the user directive makes sense only if the master process run with superuser privileges. So mkdir var/lib/nginx body, it is enabled in this particular directory. The user which we have mentioned www-data does not have the super privileges, and it needs to run with super user privileges, and it is unable to create the directory in this particular directory it is saying. So that means www-data doesn't have any permission. So permission is denied for that particular user. So it cannot able to create a file or a directory under this particular directory. So because of that reason, the Nginx daemon has not been started. So that means whenever you want to run the commands other than a root user, so that means if you want to run the commands in the Docker file in a non-root user means, so we need to follow some particular scenarios and all those things. So directly we cannot give the user and directly we cannot run it. Why? Because you have seen it, right? Permissions will not be there. So that means if you want to run, so according to the, so there are according to the requirement, you need to understand that whether which user we need to run, depending on the organization requirement and all those things, we need to give to that particular user the proper privileges and permissions, and then only we can able to run the application with that user only. So other than that, so normally if you don't mention the user parameter means automatically it will be created. So that is one thing which you need to understand. Okay. Now if you try to log in, so into this one docker container exec -ti, and if I try to check the ubuntu-demo, okay, so it is not started, right? So we cannot able to log in into this one. So that's it about this one. So now how we can able to write this one, so this one is, so what I will try to do it is, so the user creation, so how we can run this Nginx application as a non-root user means, I will try to explain you in the next video so that you can able to understand very clearly. So the user concept is so little bit tricky or something, little bit thing, depends on the requirement, the user permissions we need to do it. I will try to explain you the full application by running the Nginx application as a non-root user. I will try to show you. So this is all complete introduction about the Docker file, all the instructions we have explained you. So hope you understood about this user instruction. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. And if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.